I have fought both sides for a very long time. This is where political debate might not be the best place for kids. And SJWs would stop trying to pass or force laws that are unproven to be to the populace, then most of the shitposting would probably disappear. And mostly anti-Ws would also. So this is a weak argument for me. We cannot child-proof or harm-proof the world. Unless we want to have a closed pod people debate. Because once you control definition and words that can be used, you've already won the debate. This is a debate argument done by many people that have wanted to control ideas. It's called a mind manipulation technique to want to control the words people say, and that is scary when you want to do that kind of stuff. So that is why kind of shit posting and being rude online is part of the open debate. Because if you want to start controlling debate, you can control definitions in debate. Once you do that, you've already won the argument before the argument's even cast, even if you're wrong. And that's actually very dangerous in the political world. That happens all the time. And we have to actually, as people who love truth or care about science, we have to actually fight that idea of controlling words and controlling definitions. We have to honestly talk about definitions and what they really mean. This is why the left hiding behind the precious snowflakes in the debate is dangerous to a true and open argument of dialogue, because you can use a snowflake as a way to control debate, as a way to win the argument without having a valid point. So you're asking me to approach a fixed deck that forces you to win, and for me to be pleasant about it, using precious snowflakes as cover as ammunition to win. I think that makes SJWs immoral arguers. Real world examples used by you seem to be lacking logically. If an SJW tries to watch or interact in a situation where they are triggered, then all mental health classes will tell them to no longer put yourself in that situation and stop arguing. Leave yourself away from that. That becomes responsible to the person who's being triggered, not to the people who are triggering them. That's how all mental health classes tell you, which I believe is morally right. Because at one time I've had PTSD, just for FYI. At one time I was triggered by people putting their fingers to their noses and scratching their noses because of the way I was harassed and attacked. Does that mean that people should stop scratching their noses in front of me? Is that a moral position for me to take? No, it's not their responsibility. It's my responsibility to protect myself. Now, if I can't protect myself because people are actually knowing that it hurts me and doing it purposefully to me, then that makes them wrong. But if they are doing it in interaction with other people, not thinking about me, but thinking about the argument or what they're doing, then that makes them not being wrong. So it depends on what their desired action is toward and what they're doing makes them wrong or right. So if they're purposely triggering me, that's wrong. If I'm being accidentally triggered, that's my responsibility. So the person who kind of does the action gets the blame. If I act in a way of putting myself in a place where I'm going to be triggered, that's my fault. If they act in a way of coming to my house and triggering me, that's theirs. They're the action coming toward me, that's their fault. So that's kind of how I look at this, just so you know. I don't know if that's logical to you or what, but in anti-SJW circles, I see the action of people getting fired from an outside aggressor. And SJW feminists that gets people fired actually admit that they're doing it to the person on action by saying, I got them fired. They're admitting they're getting that person fired purposefully. That to me is a difference, is that when people are triggered on your side, they're triggered because they're purposely putting themselves in a situation where they can be triggered. Where on our side, the concept of protection is, it's not that we're going to be triggered, it's that people can actually come after us, that there's a danger there of just having certain ideals or beliefs. And that's a difference. I mean, it'd be like if KKKs owned the state of Illinois, and any black person who came out and said black people should be equal gets shot. You could see someone in that situation say black people get equal behind um, a thing, because there's real life consequences to that action purposefully because the action is being taken. Most people don't commit suicide because of harassment. Only extreme cases are very unusual examples. So you don't change the whole world because of a few examples. It's a dangerous way of creating a culture. You use physics as an example of freedom of academic expression. The difference is how many laws have string theory gotten passed, or any other physics arguments. There are laws being passed by these academic fields without any moral open rule debate because of these studies. Not only that, you have the concept of having a feminist, which should only with a feminist class that should only be a theory that's being pushed, and yet other moral theories of equal footing are all put together in ethics classes. Shouldn't a feminist class be an ethics class or some other class? Why is it its own class? Why is it superior than other ethics ideals? It's very interesting that it doesn't get the same. It should just get the same billing as everyone else. Why is it superior and it gets its own class? I just don't see other. I don't see moral, theological, ethics classes next to feminist class. Why shouldn't every college have that too? So you can have multiple different moral classes you can choose from that you think you're interested in learning about. I just wonder about that. How many of these studies are being passed by conservative scientists compared to progressive scientists? So these studies, to me, have ideals and ideals in them, and I think they're skewed. Is kind of what I wrote down. If there was power and money in researching and pushing string theory or any other scientific theory, it might destroy the real science that can be done within its bounds. Because political power can make bad science good and can stifle science to the contrary, the science that gives the politicians the power. This is where the social science is different to more harder science and different to most other college courses. This is where I think the political does intersect with the scientific community, and you have to admit that if you find out some quantum physics theory is right or wrong, or you prove it more, there's not all this, oh my gosh, we're going to make a law that does this and that we're going to change our whole culture because he did this one thing. I mean, how many math geniuses created a math thing that changed the whole culture and all laws were created for it? It usually doesn't really happen, but it happens in the social sciences. So you have to admit that those sciences are not like other sciences in college. In true academic freedom, political desires must be erased and ignored till the masses and enough people are convinced that the social scientist is truth. This is not happening. We are not generalizing. In America, he is right. Right-wing speakers have been stopped from speaking multiple times at colleges and universities. Left-wing ideas, left-wing ideals, left-wing things are being taught by the professors. 82% of all professors are left-wing and progressive, even though only 30% are in the regular world. So it seems like that there's this big left-wing bias, and it's actually stifling any right-wing conservative values. And you actually might be right-wing in some of your standpoints in America. I don't know if you're that in where you're at, from Britain or from UK or from Ireland. I have no idea where you're from. So, but in America, being libertarian, you actually might be right-wing. Um, and I've never heard conservatives silence a left-wing speaker in America. I heard other left-wing groups silence left-wing speakers. I've heard other left-wing groups get left-wing speakers uninvited. But I've never heard a conservative group get a left-wing speaker uninvited or get them kicked out. It'd be interesting if you can find one in America now. Now, European conservatism or European right-wing and left-wing is different than America right-wing and left-wing. So, so I wouldn't use any European things, at least from my point of view. It wouldn't make sense to me. But if you want to talk about any right-wing people or right-wing groups in America that have gotten college universities to kick out left-wing speakers coming to their thing, please do so. When a person says that the leftist values are more feelings-based and less reasons-based, it is not all moral values. You have to understand that American libertarians are considered right. I would actually love to argue on SJWs as a conservative Christian in this exact area, because I've seen that too. I've seen most SJWs arguments are feelings based, and they feel like they have to, including people about Black Lives Matter and all that kind of stuff. It's all feelings based. There is no logical, mathematical, or moral argument that is to me, scientifically or logically based. The logical argument starts from a feeling concept and from the moral feeling of I have to right this wrong, and not from an idea of the first question should really be how bad is this wrong and what is this person is this person self-destructing, or is it wrong so externally I have to or the government should step in. That should be the first argument, and that argument is not even made to begin with. And to me, that was when the feelings base comes in, is they don't make the first question the right first question. Because their feelings overtake the first question, and they assume because the person's in the situation they're in that it must be an external force, and not internal actions or internal force that is self-destructing the person. So instead of saying you should go get mental help because you are self-destructive, they're saying, oh, what laws can I pass to help you out? Which could be actually more destructive to the person, because it's kind of like if a person is mentally ill or mentally needs mental help in order to overcome some things, you're actually putting a person with those things with more power, and you're not giving yourself responsibility, so they never learn how to get themselves out of bad situations. So if they're ever brought back in a bad situation you can help them out of, they can actually end up hurting themselves worse and doing worse things in the long run. And I think that is where the feelings based argument comes from. And I would love to argue that kind of stuff. So it's very nice to talk to you, or at least talk at you, Phil. Well, I say God bless, but you probably don't care. And thanks anyway. Bye.